Greetings and salutations to all of you sweet and lovely listeners. That's every single one of you, by the way. Don't want to single anybody out, and definitely don't want to leave anybody out in the cold on sweet and lovely, because that is all of you. Speaking of sweet and lovely, the very handsome, devilishly charismatic, and sometimes chaotic neutral Archibald, the cat, has joined this little podcast endeavor that we are experiencing right now. He heard my voice. He was looking out the window at probably something, and he heard my voice and decided, hey, I'm going to go sit on Dad because he's doing something important, and I must be all up in his business because I am more important than anything at this moment. And I love Archie. He is my boy. He's like my son. He's one of the greatest supporters I've ever had in my life. He's honestly a joy in my life. However, I can do without the thing that he's doing right now, which I know is completely natural to any cat of his caliber. That is when he sits on me, or he jumps up on me, sits on my lap, whatever. He will take his claws and he will claw at my shirt. And it's not like kneading or making biscuits. He is intentionally clawing at my shirt, like you just heard right there. That's the little paw doing a tap. So sorry about your ears. He will intentionally claw at my shirt because I am not petting him at that very, very moment. So I have to constantly reach up and intercept his little beans and his little sharp razor blades that are inside those beans, so he does not ruin my shirt that I'm wearing, because I take a lot of pride in my shirts. I have a lot of t-shirts. I have everything from like cute limericky t-shirts to like band t-shirts, which I, treasure greatly. My band t-shirts of every single music group that I listen to, pretty much. It's kind of a collector's thing. And furry shirts, like convention shirts and anything I get from Dealer's Den or Etsy or wherever, like just furry shirts. I got a lot of furry shirts. Right now I'm wearing a My Chemical Romance t-shirt, Black Parade to be specific, because at my job, that's kind of my thing, is every single day at my job I wear a different band tee, and people have taken note to that, like, oh, I wonder what shirt he's wearing today. As a matter of fact, one of the vendors that visits my workplace seeks me out personally at different times when he comes in, and he checks to see which band shirt I'm wearing. Now, this guy is very old school, so he listens to a lot of Rolling Stones and, the Beatles and such, which I totally respect, and I love both of those bands, but he always seeks me out and is like, hey, what are you wearing today? And if I'm wearing like an Owl City shirt or like a Blink-182 shirt, he's kind of like, I've never heard of those guys. So it's hit or miss in that case. But yeah, today's choice is My Chemical Romance. So shout out to all the young boys and girls and theys and thems whose father took them in the city to see a marching band. Welcome to Nostalgia. So lately, this whole crazy thing that we call life has been pretty chill, if I'm being honest. Not a whole lot of events have been going on, if I'm being completely honest. This past weekend was pretty low key. I was able to get some rest, and I was able to help my parents out with some house renovations. So let me just say this: when you get a call from your dad that goes something along the lines of, hey, I rented 2 things, and you're like, oh, here we go. First thing he rented was a bobcat, and to those of you who don't know, that is like a mini bulldozer with a giant shovel. And I also ordered a dumpster. Oh, lovely! So we're gonna be doing some end of summer cleaning, eh? That is exactly what ensued on Saturday. I woke up very early, which kind of sucked because it was Saturday. I'm definitely a sleeper inner when it comes to Saturdays, but I got up at a reasonable time, laced up the boots and got the gloves, and hopped in my car. Took a nice gentle drive over to the folks' house, and there they were, the bobcat and the dumpster. Wasted no time to lace up the gloves and get to work. We were hauling piece by piece of just junk. Like, I'm talking like old hammock frames, old toys, metal pieces, plastic pieces, like old tables and chairs, anything we could find that was worth throwing out at this point because I love my folks to death. They are like the biggest inspirations in my life, but they can definitely be pack rats, and I mean that in the most loving way possible. Not quite to the degree of like hoarding, because it's not really hoarding. It's more of just like, oh, let's keep this thing because it may be useful in the future, which I do respect. I have also adopted that habit of keeping like little trinkets, odds and ends, and things. Just I have, like, for example, um, my house, my parents' house, and my brother's house. We all have junk drawers, and I don't know if that's like a Midwestern thing, but like, oh my gosh, like we have junk drawers. We have that one drawer. My mother tends to have a few of them, but we all have that one drawer that we just keep random items in. Like, it could be anything. It could be like a piece to something. It could be like old wiring. It could be like 1,000 rolls of like half-used tape. It could be like a bag of twist ties, which I don't know why we have those, and half-dead batteries. That pretty much makes up a junk drawer in the context of my family chemistry. So, in this case, it was the junk shed, the junk basement, and the junk garage. All of the above were getting a purge. I should also mention that I have been primarily helping my parents pull up carpeting because they have been wanting to replace this probably 60-year-old carpeting for the past probably as long as I've been alive, if I'm being honest. And that's quite a bit. So, we're talking almost 30 years of like them talking about replacing the carpeting, and it has finally been becoming to it's finally becoming a reality, which I'm very happy for them that they've taken the steps to do it. But they cannot do it unless they have a younger, able-bodied individual, and that is their son, their second born, their I guess their mediocre pride and joy, second in the line to my older brother, who has moved states since the year prior. So they call upon their second born to help with this project. And let me just say this: pulling up probably 50 plus year old carpeting is definitely nothing to it's it's no easy task, for lack of a better like term, but it does not want to cooperate. If you think about it, the amount of carpeting, and also the amount of just absolute like sheer the sheer amount of age within the subfloor, and also not to mention the high traffic areas that take place within and with on, if that's a word to use, with on. I think I created a new word. That carpeting. I'm talking the hallway, the living room, the dining room, everything. the high traffic areas are the worst to pull up because that glue with heat and with cold and everything that goes around it, um, it tends to basically become part of the floor underneath. So it was an absolute adventure to pull that stuff up and then have to scrape by hand, scrape the padding underneath, because I didn't know this. Apparently, a lot of old school carpeting has padding underneath of it. And then there's the hardwood that connects to the actual floor. So, um, I had to use a shovel. I had to use my hands. I had to use a scraper. I had to use, I think at one point I had to use a sickle, like a really sharp blade to scrape this garbage up. And oh my gosh, not only did I end up locking my right knee up after all the scraping and pushing and shoveling and all that, but also my immune system took quite a hit. Because I don't know if you've ever dealt with old carpeting, and if you're nasal and allergenic like I am, that stuff gets in your system and it will fester. And it took, I think I spent like the past 3 days, since Saturday, like sneezing and sniffling and trying to clear out all of the absolute nonsense that was going on in my upper respiratory system. So I recommend wearing a mask. I did not. I should have, because old house, stuffy, old carpeting, 50 plus years old, plus immune system does not mix. So, to those of you out there who are looking to do some home aid projects, please take the proper precautions and do not do what I did, which is not wear a mask. Thankfully, I'm feeling much better now, but those few days were an absolute trip, for lack of a better term. So, between the dumpster, the bobcat, the carpeting, and spending most of Saturday getting dirty, and getting down, hands and knees, scraping, it ended off with a lovely pizza dinner from Papa John's, which, not the greatest pizza chain ever, but hey, it was free, so I can't knock it. And Smokey and the Bandit on TNT. So, not a terrible day. Not a terrible end to the day either. And once I got home, I collapsed. Collapsed with a capital C and two capital L's. So get plenty of rest, folks. That's my push to you. Sunday, I got to spend a fair amount with a work friend, and we basically watched Studio Ghibli movies and had lasagna, which was pretty fantastic. Shout out to them for making homemade lasagna and making it very good. And then, I would say overall, this week has been something. Definitely some work frustrations. I won't bore you with the details, but let's just say that I am in the current process of considering my job, and maybe I want to move on from it. Maybe I will continue my career in mental health. Maybe I will find something else that's more suitable. Definitely something that pays more. But let's just say I think my stint for this current job that I'm working is coming to an end very soon. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like this job. It is just a job, like something that I am good at. It's not ideal. Pays the bills, gets me out of the house, and it definitely gets me to furry conventions and other places. Because the pay is not great, but it's enough to sustain and also go on vacations and go to furry conventions. And also I have to mention the time off there is very generous. They are very generous with time off, which I'm very thankful for. It got me to multiple furry conventions per year the past few years, and I cannot dispute that. However, given the circumstances of the job as it stands right now, it's definitely not worth it. It's becoming not worth it more and more every single week that goes by, and I feel like I'm working too hard for very little, and the pay does not really match the work itself. The benefits are pretty good, but the pay plus the benefits and the time off do not really like match up to my expectations. So this is just a little nugget of wisdom to any of you out there. Um, if you're not comfortable where you are, if you feel like where you are is not right, if you feel like wherever you may be working or going to school or whatever the case may be, you can always have the option to go elsewhere. It may be difficult, it may take some time. You may have a fair amount of job security, but I can tell you right now, no amount of job security is worth sacrificing your mental and possible physical health to, what would be, considered comfort, or maybe you feel kind of Stockholmy, if that's a word I can use, you know, to stay at a job for whatever reason. And I understand that bills and priorities and payments are a thing, but that doesn't mean that you can't find something better. It doesn't mean that you won't have to go through some trials to get to where you want. And I've been having those thoughts a lot lately. I caught myself not too long ago thinking, am I too comfortable at this job? Even though I don't particularly care for it? And I think the answer came back, yes. I am, as a matter of fact, very much in a comfort zone at this job. And as much as I can tolerate it, that comfort zone is dangerous. It can be dangerous. Like we make excuses for ourselves all the time. Like, I have bills to pay. I have conventions to go to. I have vacation time. I have to pay off this debt, whatever the case may be. But really sit down and ask yourself, is that something you want to keep doing? Is this a place that you can really see yourself being at for the next year, let alone 5 years? Because everybody talks about a 5-year plan for some reason. And on a side note, I honestly don't like the idea of a 5-year plan. Like, hey, what's your 5-year plan? I think that's a dumb question in interviews because, I don't know, man. I'm just here. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, let alone 5 years from now. I can't say for sure. And things can change so quickly, like in less than 24 hours, let alone more than 5 years down the road. Like, it's good to have a goal. I don't want to knock that. It is good to have a goal in your life or a set of goals. And I think the point that I'm trying to make is you can't really put a clock on the success that you want to put in your own life, the success that you want to achieve, because success comes in many forms. It's fluid. It comes in many different places. It comes in the most unexpected ways. If whatever you deem success is successful in 5 years, then I'd be very surprised, you know? And success is never, success should never be measured in just a very tight-knit, consistent window of time. As a matter of fact, I have a sticker at my workplace. It sits right on my desk, and it says, "Time means nothing," which is true. In a lot of ways, time does mean nothing. Like, often we find ourselves trapped in these ruts. We find ourselves trapped in these rituals, as it were, and we never really give ourselves the right amount of opportunity to really live. Seems like we're just floating day after day. If we're just getting by. We do the same thing every day. It can be monotonous, it can be tiresome, it can be just a routine, and we don't even think about it anymore. Well, that's where the danger comes in if we're not careful. The danger comes when our hands are idle and we get too comfortable to where we are, and comfort is a good thing. I don't want to knock that either, but just know that, like, too much comfort can be dangerous. If you're not growing, you're dying, I believe is what Tony Robbins said. And I, of course, have my opinions about that person, but it's neither here nor there. If you're not growing, you're dying. I really think about that quote sometimes, and I think to myself, am I challenging myself? Am I pushing myself to be better? Am I really striving for change that I want in my life or that I'm seeking? And the answer lately has been no. I haven't really been seeking a whole lot of change. I've been just kind of, floating along like I talked about, and it has just been like a getting by sort of state of mind, you know? But the truth is, what we have to do is live in daytime compartments, as Dale Carnegie talked about in his book. Um, we must live in these daytime compartments. We must live by locking the past away and shutting off the future, because right now the past and the future latch on to the every second that passes and every second that comes about in recorded time. Those daytime compartments, living the tissue of every day, as Dale Carnegie said, is what we need to strive for. It's something that we need to look at and appreciate and say, I am living today. Tomorrow do thy worst, for I have lived today. Not to mention, there is a proverb that I often read every morning, actually, when I look at my mirror, because I have it taped on my mirror, and it is, every day is a new life to a wise person. Every day is a new opportunity. It's a new life. It's something to be considered anew. The past is the past. Spilled milk is spilled milk. Lock the past away, and the future is undetermined. All that to say, don't worry so much. Don't worry so much about a 5-year plan. Don't worry so much about your career. Don't worry so much about what you're going to be doing in the next, 6 to 12 months. Don't worry about your current job. What you need to worry about is your character development and how you treat yourself and how you treat others. Go easy on yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive others, Make amends with those who have hurt you or maybe you've hurt, if you can. And also, when it comes to working, where you are now may not be the ultimate determinant of your future. Maybe it's not where you want to be right now, but it does help. It's a stepping stone. It's a step closer to the path that you want to be on. Wherever you are in life right now, be it a job, in school, maybe unemployed, that is a step in the direction that you should be going. Even if it doesn't seem like it, if it seems impossible to get where you want to go. Where you are right now is merely another stage. And eventually you level up. You may lose some lives on the way, but you can always gain extra lives if you look hard enough. A little bit of a video game analogy that I like to use sometimes. So anyway, we've talked about work, and I've pretty much rambled on about it for quite a bit. So I do want to talk about a couple things that happened this week. Monday night and yesterday. So I'm recording, as of right now, it's 12:38 a.m. on, I guess technically Thursday, 9/12/2024. This past Monday night and Tuesday, I had a lovely friend come up and visit. So shout out to Nyla. Thank you for coming to visit. It's really nice having you as a house guest, and I'm glad we had good times together. We got to swap stories, listen to music, and just overall hang out, go out to shops, and all that, and have a good time. I want to talk about one thing that happened in particular. So Nyla and myself, we are musicians. We love music. We play guitar. We swap ideas, and we kind of bounce off of each other creatively in music and arrangement and those kinds of things. Also, one of the things we got to bond over was hardware and different types of instruments and instrumentals, and our preferences as far as playing style is in music. And so I thought it would be a good idea to take them to a local music shop in my town. Now, I hadn't been there for quite a bit, but this one just seemed like the right opportunity. It just seemed like the right place to go at the right time. So I took the day off of work on Tuesday, and again, shout out to my job for being so cool and rational and understanding about days off. I cannot be more grateful in that as of right now. Got to take the day off, and we went to this local music shop, and we spent probably 2 hours in there, just sitting, playing guitar, jamming together, talking about different brands and different styles and what we like and dislike and preferences and all that kind of stuff. I got to listen to some of the stuff that they wrote and some of the songs that they had come up with, and that was definitely a really nice bonding moment. But I think one of the biggest highlights while we were in that music shop was getting to plug in a Blondie Telecaster, Fender Telecaster, which is one of my dream guitars, by the way. Any of you guitar nuts out there, you know what I'm talking about. The blonde Fender Telecaster with the black pickguard. Oh my gosh, that is a beautiful guitar. But I picked up this $1,500 guitar, I plugged it in, and I immediately started playing the Bluey theme. Yes, I started the melody of the Bluey theme through this amp for the entire store to hear. And I figured, hey, you can't play Stairway to Heaven in music shops? Might as well play the Bluey theme. So I did. I don't know if anybody recognized it. However, I did get a few looks when people were walking through of people being like, I know that song. Where do I know that song from? And it was really charming to see their reactions. So I have to say that was a rousing success on the part of my fingers for finding those notes and just playing them. So that's something I'll never forget, being able to just sit down and be able to pick out that melody, because we all know it. We all know the Bluey theme at this point. Come on, if you're a furry, you have heard it at least once. Let's be real here. So that's something I'll never forget. Along with heading out to the music shop, we got to go to a local toy store, and that was nice to watch them kind of geek out over some of the old school toys and plushies and some of the creative writing things that we found, like books and gag gifts and all that kind of stuff. So also to that cashier who was working the counter that night, or that day rather, really sweet, really nice, very personable. I'm glad to see that she's enjoying her job so much. So she was a joy to talk to. And then Nyla headed off back home, and that was it. So we enjoyed time together, so I'm very happy that it turned out that way. And yeah, I'm hoping we get to hang out again soon. Speaking of Bluey, so I did something tonight. Usually on Wednesdays, I go and see my parents weekly for like a weekly meeting, and also to kind of help with chores and whatnot, whatever they need, and also to do laundry, because I live in a complex, so the laundry situation in my complex costs money, and I prefer not to spend money on like $1 a load for laundry. That's not really my jam. So I just I take my clothes back home and I do them there, and it works out pretty well because I can do them for free. So, nope, not a problem, not bad. Anyhow, I did do something tonight while I was at my parents' house. It was just me and mom, and we were just hanging out. I worked on some of the flooring. Still, I did my laundry. We had subs, which was really good, and we watched a couple episodes of Bluey. Now, I had shown mom Bluey before. I showed her the Sign episode. I showed her, I believe it was the Ghost Basket and a couple of others. Some of the episodes with Muffin she really liked. I think I showed her the xylophone episode and the day in the park where they're getting ice cream and like it keeps melting. Can't remember what the name of that one was. Might have just been called Ice Cream. Anyway, so I showed her 2 episodes. They were both in season 2. The first one was Sleepy Time, which if you're a Bluey fan, you know that episode by heart at this point. Won a good amount of awards. It was, I think, considered one of the best episodes of Bluey that has ever been made, which I happen to agree with. And I kid you not, I was sitting there and we were watching Sleepy Time. And I'm not going to explain what happens in the episode entirely. If you want to go watch it, feel free. It is very sweet and wholesome, and it makes you really feel things when you watch it. And one of the things it does for me when I first saw it, it really reminded me of my childhood, and spending the nights, um, trying to fall asleep in my own bed growing up, and fighting the temptation to go and sleep in my parents' bed because I was young. When you're a little kid and you're not feeling fully independent yet, that's what you did. You went in and you slept in your parents' bed, or you slept near their bed or something. I was definitely that kid. Any opportunity I could do, to spend time in my parents' bed sleeping, I would. Um, and then as you get older, it gets easier. But I was definitely that kid at like 4 or 5 years old. I wasn't ready to grow up yet, so to speak. And to any of you who have seen the episode, you know that's what Bingo goes through in the episode. Anyway, as we were watching it, and I knew she would appreciate it because it would probably remind her of the many, many nights that we spent kind of fighting the I'm a big kid now, I want to sleep in my own bed, to I'm not ready yet, you know? And she really appreciated that aspect. But I kid you not, while I was sitting there, we were watching it, I was fighting back the tears because the first time I ever saw that episode, I bawled my eyes out. Like, out of nostalgia, out of remembrance, not out of sadness, but just out of like pure sentimentality. Because in many ways, Chili Healer reminds me of my mom. She has those same qualities, and they're very similar. That's why I knew that mom would like the series in general. And I'm sitting there, like, just think about this scenario. I'm sitting there with my mom watching the Sleepy Time episode, and there are so many things, like so many aspects in that episode that just remind me of my own childhood, and I am like just holding myself together like so hard, probably harder than I ever have, because not that I am uncomfortable to cry around my mom currently, but I, you know, I didn't want to I didn't want to ruin it. You know what I mean? I wanted it to be like a pure and whole experience, and I knew if I started bawling that it would turn into something else, and I think she would miss the point of the episode if I started. Because let me tell you this, I definitely felt like I was 5 years old again. I felt like I'm even starting to get choked up like talking about it even like I really felt like I was a little kid again, watching and sitting down and watching something with my mom and bringing back those memories. And after the episode, we had a discussion about it, and she really liked it. And she was like, that was so sweet and wholesome, and like, I was like, I know, right? And I told her, like, I confessed, I was like, I have to say, when I first saw that episode, I cried a lot. And she was like, oh, and we had a nice little moment together, just kind of recounting the past and talking about what was back in the day, and how the experience that they showed in the episode was very much like our experience growing up, my brother and I. So that was a very sweet moment that we had together tonight, and I do not regret any of it. So I'm glad she enjoyed it because I wasn't sure if she would, but she really does like the series, and I'm pretty sure that the episode that I showed her tonight was like one of her favorites. She didn't say that, but I could tell that she really enjoyed it. She had a way of telling me that it was probably one of her favorites. The second episode we watched was the army episode with Rusty and Jack. You know, when Jack is displaying ADHD symptoms, which was really cleverly done, by the way. And when it got to the end of Rusty, like Rusty's dad coming back from active duty in the military, and then you see them hug at the end. Oh, we both pretty much broke down, like, oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. And I had seen the episode many times, mind you, but she had never seen it. And then she saw that and she was like, oh, like I could tell she wanted to cry too. Like, oh man, like what is this series doing to us, man? Like, oh. So we bonded really nicely over Bluey tonight, and I'm very thankful that she has been so receptive to it. Because when I first showed it to her many months ago, I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't know how she would react. I didn't know if she would find it touching or anything like that. But it really did make an impact on her. And every time I bring it up or she brings it up, she always talks about how sweet it is and how wholesome and how just like full and like loving the series is, and like it I can tell that she really enjoys it. As a matter of fact, this past Christmas she got me an ornament. She got me a Bluey ornament, which was really sweet, and I'm very grateful for that she sees that as an interest of mine. And by the way, side note, for Father's Day this year, I got my dad a Bandit sticker for for Father's Day, you know, and he loves it. In fact, he put it on one of his coffee mugs. That's how much he loves it. Like, hey, all right, cool. So, my dad, you know, doesn't really understand the whole Bluey thing. He's heard about it, but he doesn't watch it. But I got him that Bandit sticker, and he loved it. So, I think we're doing good here, you know. So, yeah, that was a nice little moment that we had together tonight, and we continue to have. So, oh, one honorable mention: I did show her the Baby Race episode, and to those of you Bluey fans out there, short recap, and to those of you who have never seen it, short recap. Basically, it's a flashback episode where Bluey first learns how to walk, and my mom was almost in like shambles watching that because it really captured the magic of like seeing your firstborn take their first steps. And she was telling me stories and stuff about like baby stories of my brother and I when after we watched that episode, and it was very very touching. So I miss those times. I miss being a kid. I miss those times with the parents, and you know, now that I'm, I guess, grown up and I have my own life and I'm away from home and all that, it's good to come back. You know, it's good to come back to where you came from. That's why I say at the end of every podcast, you know, the Latin phrase "Sic Parvis Magna," greatness from small beginnings. Well, I'm happy and grateful to say that my beginnings were in fact great, and I am grateful for them. So So, I hope that was encouraging to all of you as well in some ways. I'm glad that glad we got to experience that together tonight and before that. I kind of want to end here talking about a couple things because we're getting close to 40 minutes. Wow, that's a lot of talking. But I do want to mention I will be attending Wapafa, Western Pennsylvania, for a weekend. The first weekend, I believe, of October. I'll be there from Friday to Sunday, and then I'll be at MFF first weekend of December in Chicago. So if any of you are going to be heading there, I hope to see you. I can't wait for these cons. It's going to be a wonderful cap off to the year, and I'm very excited to attend both of them because I love both of those cons very much. So I'm looking forward to that. But I want to end with something a little different than we're probably used to. I've been reading, as some of you know, I've been reading a lot of Stoic philosophy for the past few years, and it's only been recently that I started to really apply them to life. And I have a daily calendar quote reader that an alert comes up on my phone at 7 a.m. every morning, and it shows up with a quote from either letters from a Stoic or Meditations or Epictetus's writings or Seneca's writings, whatever the case may be. But it basically pushes a quote as a push notification to your phone, and I read them every day. So this today, well, this wasn't the quote from today, but I did screenshot this one, and it really spoke to me. So here it is. This is from Marcus Aurelius, okay, from Meditations. He was, for those of you who want to hear some backstory, Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor. I can't remember what time period exactly, but he was emperor of Rome, and his reign was, I believe, like 30 years, something like that. But this is from his personal diaries, which have been mass-produced and published to the public about a couple thousand years later. But this comes from his personal quote book, his personal journal, as it were. So here we go. This is Marcus. Do what you will. Even if you tear yourself apart, most people will continue doing the same things. That's so good, I'm going to read that again. Marcus Aurelius says, do what you will. Even if you tear yourself apart, most people will continue doing the exact same things. So what's Marcus saying there? What he's saying is, we can't change people, no matter who they are. We can influence, we can encourage, we can give advice, we can do our best to support, but in the end, that person has to make the decision to change, or they have to make a decision to modify their behaviors. I heard another quote that was similar in Stoic letters, and it was, would you tell a bee to stop pollinating or gathering or making honey? Would you tell a bird to stop flying? Would you tell a beaver to stop building? Would you tell a cat to stop purring? All of these things come natural to these animals. In the same way that we just read, people are going to be doing the same things even if you tear yourself apart. What he's really saying is, don't waste your time and your energy trying to change somebody. Don't expend yourself or push yourself too far to the point where you can't breathe and you feel like you can't do enough for somebody, or, maybe you feel like you need to be there for them to help them, but in the end, they're going to keep doing the same things. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to stand idly by if there's bad behavior. It doesn't mean that you need to just ignore them. That doesn't mean that you cannot support them. But in the end, they make the decision. They are the ones who have to decide for themselves to change something in their lives. As I said, you can give advice, you can talk till you're blue in the face, but in reality, that's all we can do. We cannot change them. They're going to be doing the same things, One of my favorite movies, some of you know, of all time, is No Country for Old Men. And there's a scene where the sheriff in that movie, Ed Tom Bell, goes and visits his retired cop cousin, Ellis. And Ellis looks at Ed Tom, who is feeling frustrated and discouraged with life because he feels like he can't make a difference in the world. Ellis looks right at Ed Tom and says, "It ain't all relying on you. You can't stop what's coming. To expect that you can stop what's coming, that's vanity." And he also mentions that this country's hard on people. And like he said, it ain't all relying on you. It's not waiting on you. Things have been and will always be the way that they were. It ain't nothing new. That's vanity. So he's got a great point. Cousin Ellis can teach us something there. Things have been the way that they are and will continue to be the way that they are. Bad things happen. Bad people corrupt good. There is evil that exists, and the best that we can do is react to it accordingly. It's how we react to something that matters. It's not the thing itself that we can change, because a lot of times we can't change that person or that thing that happened or might happen. The best we can do is change our perspective and how we respond to it. So how are we going to respond to that person or that thing or that situation that we can't change? Well, one of the first things we can do is be calm. Be at peace. Realize that these things aren't waiting all on us. We can do our best in that moment to improve on the worst. That's the best we can do. And at some point, if it's something that's out of our control, we have to accept that. And we have to, realize that it's not all waiting on us. As much as we want to be the hero, we can't always be. Sometimes when things happen, all we can do is our very best. And all we can do is have an attitude about it that's not destructive. Have an attitude about it that is instead constructive and that says, I can build character and I can learn from this. So I hope that's encouraging to you. Whatever may be going on in your life, be it frustrating or not ideal, be it jobs or a person, let's remember that we shouldn't tell a beaver to stop building, a cat to stop purring, or a honeybee to stop collecting. Those are the way that they're going to act, and they don't need our help. We can do our best to try and help and encourage and support, but in the end, it is up to that individual to make those decisions for themselves, and that applies to you too. It's up to you to make those decisions for yourself and to think for yourself and change your own perspective, to what is the most constructive and will bring the most learning and growth to your own character. So I think that's where I'm going to end it. I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you for being here, listening to this, wild journey that I've been on for the past couple days and week. And once again, I want to really extend my thank you and gratefulness to all of you. Thank you for your support on the main channel. Thank you for your support over here on Twitch, on TikTok, on Twitter, all those good places that I post things. And you help me live my dream every single day. I see it from your comments, your likes, your watching, everything, everything, like the messages that you send me, all that you give, I can never repay. And I am so grateful that I do not have words to describe, and I don't know how I could ever pay you back. Even if it's just like a simple conversation, a hug, or a picture, or just, just a small interaction on the internet, whatever it may be. I want you to know that I appreciate all of you, every single one, so much. And I would not be here or the person I am without you, without any of you. So I encourage you to always be you, be yourself. There has never been anyone like you in this entire world. There will never be anyone like you in the future, and there is no one like you right now. The only thing that you can be is you. And don't let anybody ever tell you who you should be or who you shouldn't be, because that is for you to decide, and only you can decide that and think for yourself. In the same way, remember the Latin phrase, sic Parvis Magna, greatness from small beginnings. Remember those who brought you up. Remember those who encouraged you from the beginning and who continue to encourage you and support you to this day. And be sure to encourage and support them in return, where you came from and where you are now. I'm willing to bet it is a big difference. And just remember that you have a purpose to fulfill, and only you can fulfill it, nobody else. You're not done yet. In fact, you're just getting started. You can do this. You got this. This has been Samson Kitty Fox. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you next week. Bye. Thanks for listening. Love you all. I'll catch you next time.